although it's a very macabre subject, as we'll talk about, is less about the hangman and was more about getting at how did men, in this case, working class men, 150 years ago, understand what they were doing when they were applying for jobs. So historians are always guided by their evidence. And a colleague of mine named Greg Smith discovered these letters in an archive. No, the archivists knew that they were there, but no one had looked at them in 150 years. And they were about 1,000 letters applying for the job of common hangman in London in 1883. You don't have finds like this very often because what they are over 900 letters of application for a job which didn't really exist. There's no job description, there's no job application process, there was no advertisement, we need hangman. People on their own said, oh, the current hangman or the most famous hangman has just died, there must be a job opening. So we looked at these and we tried to build a statistical analysis of the occupations in particular. And we were surprised. We thought, okay, the position of hangman is not one that carries much status, right? Most people look on it as a really disagreeable, disreputable kind of an occupation that only the lowest of the low would even be interested in. But that's not who applied for the job. The vast majority of the people who applied for this position already had good jobs, but they were looking clearly to do better than their current life. And they framed their applications in those terms. I want to do better for my family. They sent out for letters of reference, and then when they got those, they whittled it down to 3, and then they chose one guy, a man named Bartholomew Binns. Now there's lots of controversy about this because a few years after Binns was chosen, in 1886, he was fired for botching a bunch of executions. And then they went back to the second choice, a man named Berry, who would continue on until 1891. Berry is interesting because he told when he wrote out his letter saying, I want the job, he had said things like, I've always wanted this job. I've practiced on dummies since I was a kid. I built my own scaffold in the backyard, effectively. So he might have been a bit of a sociopath. You just don't get very much writing by working class people that survive. 70% of the population just didn't leave written records in the 19th century. So when we have them in their own handwriting or someone writing their own words, because sometimes they were written by someone else, they're not unique, but they are very rare. Finding something extraordinary, you can get to the mundane, which then tells you a little bit about how the mundane is actually not quite so mundane, it's actually quite extraordinary.